To the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel and to our live stream Q&A part 1 of this Columbus Day weekend, where we will be live streaming instead of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be live streaming Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We have a Q&A today. I'll do another Q&A tomorrow, and then a live stream lecture on Monday about Christopher Columbus, his controversial legacy, and the discovery of the Americas, discovery by the Europeans. So we'll be talking about that on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing a Q&A, and you are here to hear me answer some questions about history and social studies. I would have been on earlier, but I have been exhausted, been going through a lot, personally, professionally, all phases outside of this. I'm doing a little bit better, but I'm still exhausted. So I went and laid down for a nap about 4 o'clock, and then woke up barely just after 6 to an alarm, and then just couldn't drag myself out of bed until about 5 minutes ago. So I'm going to do everything I can to get some good answers for historical questions. Both are there's a lot busy in my life right now. But I'm here for you guys. I'm here to answer questions about history and social studies like I do every Friday and Saturday usually. And Sundays are usually our live stream lecture. But this weekend it gave us a very special opportunity to do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because of Monday being Indigenous Peoples Day or Columbus Day. And we'll discuss the legacy and the history around that. And how it's probably best, it'd be interesting if we celebrated both. I don't know if it'd be best, but it'd be interesting. Okay, hold on one second. So, anyways, when is the vote? What costume you are going to wear for Halloween? Halloween falls on a Friday, so I'd usually do a Q&A. I will put up a vote on that probably in the next couple of days, and we'll figure that out. We've got plenty of time before Halloween, 3 weeks before Halloween. But yeah, let's see. Any questions about history or social studies, I'll answer. I can't stay on very long today. I'll probably go to just after 7 o'clock. I've got a very busy evening ahead of me as well, so everything's just so chaotic and busy. But I appreciate everybody for joining and checking in on me, and we'll figure out what I'm going to be dressed as, what historical figure I will dress as for Halloween. I was at a function, whatever, party, festival, whatever you want to call it, last night, and I was a pirate, so that was fun. But yeah. Questions about history, social studies, a historian is always happy to answer. Here at the Friendly Neighborhood History Channel, we do so in a neighborly, amicable manner. So consider liking and subscribing, becoming a Friendly Neighborhood Historian. And you are not just alone. You are joined by the great Confucius, Kongji, one of the greatest philosophers of all times, who obviously heavily influenced the development of not just China, but all of Eastern Asia. Can you do a video about who would you vote for in historical elections? Yes, I will. Once I get a new laptop that's good for like screen sharing and stuff, then yeah, I just need a new laptop. And the money that goes towards this channel, by the way, either through super chats, memberships, whatever it might be, ad revenue, please watch all of my videos, short and long form, in order to increase those revenues and all of that stuff. All of that is used towards this channel. I go back and I put it towards the channel. Cecil Rhodes was a British investor and businessman who is most well known for helping to develop he had these ideas of developing the British rail line from Cairo to Johannesburg, from connecting British East Africa from Egypt in the north to South Africa, of course, in the south. So what do you think of the most recent North Korean election? Kim Jong-un got 100% of the vote and won 625 of 625 of the National People's Congress. Wow, the communists won every seat. Can we agree that FDR and James Madison were the best wartime presidents? Lincoln was better than both of them. And if you want to, George Washington wasn't president during a war, but if you want to count him with an asterisk, you could. George Bush Sr. did a very good job. FDR is certainly up there as well. And William McKinley. How does the current global economy compare to 1930? I honestly think Germany wants war with Russia to fix the EU economy. That's a possibility. I don't know. Tariffs were not a huge matter. Smoot-Hawley obviously did a number on the American economy, but wide sweeping tariffs all across the world were not as big of an issue as they were. The economy is quite different. I don't see the world in a great depression, but more like a great stagnation. Any ancient Iberian history you know of? Iberia, which refers to Spain, the Spanish peninsula, was obviously, there were barbarian groups that lived there, but the Carthaginians were the first to go there and mine for gold and silver. They used a lot of the soldiers from there to become mercenaries for them. The Romans also went there. Yeah, I don't know enough about that, the Lawrence Wong thing. How did the United States government go from revenue from tariffs earlier in its history to other forms of revenue waste? The 16th Amendment of 1912, 1913 allowed the collection of public taxes. Basically, the way it worked is it was similar to the colonial system. There was tariff revenue for the government collected and taxes that states collected, and some of the funds from the states went back to the government, but the federal government used to heavily rely on tariffs. That is correct. Um, it's Singapore. It's considered to be the only successful one-party state that is still considered democracy by the West. Probably because it's very capitalistic. I'm sorry for pausing the stream. I'm just getting text messages and stuff. So yeah, that's why I'm getting text messages and everything. Yes, not by the time we got in the last World War of the U.S. Because in Singapore, elections are free. You can vote for whoever you want, but they are by no means fair, and so it's highly likely that the PAP will win every election. That's pretty true. Parliamentary systems have those issues sometimes. Any other questions about history or social studies? I'm already starting to get tired. I've only been going for 6 minutes, and I usually feel very energized doing this, but I'm just so zonked. I mean, I was going all day yesterday. I didn't have one single meal yesterday, so I haven't eaten since Thursday night. At least not a bountiful square meal. How do you grade papers with time management skills as a teacher? Who says I'm a teacher? Um, so, anyways, like and subscribe if you enjoy history and social studies. Drop a topic or question in the chat. What were the main reasons Japan became involved in World War II? I consider it to be World War III. I think the First World War is the 7 Years' War. Hars, if you could put the link to the video, you guys can watch and hear my opinion and perspective on all of that. I've got long-form videos dropping every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, usually when I'm not this crazy, and shorts videos dropping every day, usually more than I've been dropping, but they're still there and available. Please go watch them when you can if you'd like to support the channel. I really would appreciate it. The video about the 7 Years' War. The Second World War would be the Great War, and the Third World War would be the one with the Axis powers in Imperial Japan. Basically, the Nazis respected militarism. They liked Japan's style. They knew Japan could be used to to attack French and British colonies in Asia. So that's one of the main reasons why. Thank you for joining us, Alexander from Venezuela, and congratulations, Maria Corina Machado is the Nobel Peace Prize winner, and she is the leader of the opposition in Venezuela, standing up to the Maduro regime. I'd love to hear your perspective on that. Thank you for joining the Friendly Neighborhood History channel. Religious history. What's the oldest, most accurate religious manuscripts? The oldest religious manuscripts are probably the Rig Vedas, which were written probably anywhere between the 1500 and 500 BC during the Indo-Aryan control of the Indian Peninsula. But the truth of the matter is the origins of Hinduism are probably even more ancient than that. Why are there no written records of Irish paper governance in Iceland from the Irish papers who inhabited Iceland? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about that, Christopher. Let me see. Is it true that dictatorships operate legally because they can just change the laws? It's a very capricious form of legality. Sometimes I accidentally dip my hand in the poop water when I wipe. It sucks. Well, you need to have better coordination, David Ceballos. And yes, I actually read that because I'm too tired. Thanks, my friend Corina Machado, Nobel of a Peace. Yeah, really incredible stuff there. Cuban crisis. Confucius. Yes, thank you for recognizing that's Confucius. The rest of it is crazy. Am I right that Leif Erikson discovered the Americas for the Europeans before Columbus? Yes. What we should say is that Columbus created sustained long-term contact, SLC, between Europe and the Americas. I have a solution to the Irish problem. Just give Ireland to Iceland. I have a solution that will solve a lot of the world's angst. Go get in a time machine and stop the British Empire from ever being around. And to answer Africa's question, yes, that is the British Empire. The Romans last the longest if you can't count the Byzantines. China has had successful dynasties like the Han, the Ming, and the Ming, the Han. Oh, there's one in the middle. I'm thinking, and the Song and Tang dynasties. Your videos are fascinating. It's crazy to think of everything we know is not as ancient as. Yep, true. Hi from North Korea. I have some sad news. Kim Jong-un wants to subscribe, but he is a troll. I have some great news. I am taking over as dictator next year. Great. Good luck with that. Donald Trump had no chance of getting the Nobel Peace Prize. Scandinavians were never going to give it to him. I think the reason Donald Trump hates the European Union and the United Nations is because they are both previous winners of the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what my opinion is. If you want me to really get into Donald Trump not winning the Nobel Peace Prize, please just do a super chat. And I'm sorry, I meant to post some sort of article on my Substack. I probably will for Columbus Day. I haven't been on there, but please subscribe there and you get to read my articles. If you don't like my voice, you can at least hear my opinions. That's not Sun Tzu, that's Confucius. Um, how come Genghis Khan has most descendants basically sleeping around? I think almost a quarter of the Asian population is somewhat related to him. I don't know. And thank you, Almira. I'll take the Mexican comment as a compliment. Have you slept at all? I've slept a lot. I'm just still exhausted. Do you think the Hmong Mingo Dingo dynasty was a fair dynasty? Don't know enough about it. Dead Sea Scrolls seem to be the oldest, most accurate. There's Vedas that are probably older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea Scrolls are fascinating. Not celebrating Columbus Day is anti-Semitic. Oh yeah, because Columbus is a Jew. We just figured this out last Columbus Day. Go watch my videos on it from last year. Why keep pushing your own World War One, World War Two, World War Three, World War Four narrative? It's not helpful to just say if there was another important world encompassing war and educate about it. I was a fan, but this is so up there, dude. Huh? So you're mad? So you, ever happy dude, who've been a part of this channel for a long time, are upset because of an opinion that I've expressed openly on this channel constantly and consistently. So and I always qualify and I have explained and defended over and over again. It's now just you're mad about it. Is Candace Owens right? No. You don't even have to ask me about what. Um, Rodolfo's here. Good to see you. Make sure to show love to my moderators, Horace, Harry, and Rodolfo. They stick with me, and they've been very supportive during this time and at all times. Is it true Asian has oldest civilization? China could easily be the oldest civilization. China, India, Mesopotamia are kind of contemporaneous. What do you know about Garbert Clip? The fact that I can't pronounce it means I probably know very little about it. They should have given it to USA and invited the president to collect on behalf of USA. Can you imagine Donald Trump's reaction? It would have been hilarious. Yeah, probably. Uh, let me see. What historical documents and events do China and the Philippines each use to justify their claims over the South China Sea islands? Um, the Philippines, because they're in there, is a huge reason. China's influence in Ceylon, and obviously the southern coast of China. I think Shanghai is near there. My geography might not be perfect. Is part of why that's a huge issue. In Ceylon, or not Ceylon, Ceylon is Sri Lanka. Formosa is what the British called Taiwan. Friendly history, my favorite live guide, just what I needed. Ben, it's so good to see you. I'm sorry, I'm not at my best today. I'm not going to be able to go much longer, but I am answering some questions because I promised you guys I would. Tomorrow, maybe we'll go for 2 hours answering questions about history and social studies at 6 p.m. Eastern again. And then Monday, because it's a 3-day weekend, we're doing a Columbus Day live stream lecture. Um, do you have a price range for a laptop you're going to get if you browse for one recently? I need a Mac. I probably need a $400 or $500 computer, and I'm using the money that I'm getting from this channel to pay for it. Not Mexico is not going to pay for it. Is that your dad? No, no, no. My dad is not a great Chinese philosopher, but thank you for thinking he might be. Um, Let me see here. Hi, Caveman. Thank you for joining us from the past, you troglodyte. Um, hello, Emir. Good to see you. Um, if you like the joke, like and subscribe. Did Ottoman Empire rule for 600 years and expand from scratch? No. Osman was a leader of a Turkish tribe who managed to create basically the best blueprint for siege warfare that had ever been used. That's why the Ottomans were so good at taking over massive cities. The greatest example is Constantinople. Within 55 years, they had impressively conquered Constantinople and basically ended the Byzantine Empire. And by the middle of the 1500s, they were the most powerful empire in the world. In fact, by the middle of the 1400s, they probably were already there, but reached their heights in the 1500s. And then, of course, fell apart after were falling apart in the 19th century, and then really got the death knell in the 20th century with the Great War. Free Palestine from who? Are you a 40-year-old virgin? Thank you for thinking that I'm 40 years old. That always makes me feel good when people widely overestimate my age, but yeah. Maybe dress up as Benny's hot sister. I am getting paid if people give, but in this, like this live stream specifically, only if people give a super chat or become a member or get a gift membership. Teach me about Tutankhamun's mom. She was the best I ever had. You are better than me. Any appendix burst, and I've been in the hospital for 11 days. So we see people in history randomly die of fever. Was it off an appendix? Do you think it could easily be? I mean, natural causes, as we call it, people dying of natural causes, probably cancerous tumors. Um, did Muhammad historically do some bad things to women? Yes. Why are Americans so afraid of the government providing the basic necessities of life? Because Americans believe in the bootstrap philosophy that they are the ones that have to do it. And yeah, I am getting facial, but it's not out of choice. It's just I've been so busy and so overwhelmed, and I haven't found time to shave. But I like it. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a vote. Do I do no shave November and really get this thing going, or what? I'm 34, and if you have a hot sister, I shall date her. Yes. Okay, then. Whatever. Chris, my sister's too good for you. Teach me about Tutankhamun's mom. Already did. Um, are aliens real? Is there any records of aliens in history? There are the Anunnaki, there are the giants in the Bible. There's a lot of ancient civilizations and societies that did have certain myths and ideas of mighty men of renown, and possibly those could be aliens, as some theories suggest, that helped humans in the building of megaliths from Baalbek in Lebanon to perhaps even the pyramids. I don't give much credence to it, but it is fascinating that humans all over the place have this idea of star beings, angels, or giants visiting them and living amongst them all throughout the world. And the Native Americans had legends of this, the Chinese have legends of this, the Near Eastern peoples have legends of this. It's quite fascinating. Um, um, yeah. Okay, like no one. You sound just like my dad. It doesn't hurt me when my dad says it. It doesn't hurt me when you say it. Buddha is Satan. Well, that's something I never heard. You are shemale. Yes, my beard clearly shows that I'm a shemale. How about a lot? How about free a lot of the Middle East from the Muslims? Free Palestine from the Muslims. It's not Muslims that are the problem. It's radical Islam, which tortures and kills more Muslims than any other form. My weekend is okay. I'm resting, so that's important. But Amir, thank you so much for the super chat. I always love it when you're here because I know super chat's coming, but I also love having you here. Chinese invented everything, paper money, and they are the tech gods of the future. That's true. Paper, money, glass, compasses, astrolabes. Yep. Do you believe in Jesus, my friend? I believe he existed. I'm not going to share my religious views. If you want me to go in depth on that, on to particular religious theology, then do a super chat. I only go in depth on certain controversial topics, especially current affairs and politics, if I get a super chat. I will talk about it in a historical context, but that's about it. I never said I'm mad. That said exactly. That's exactly it. Why make it such a huge point? It's not that interesting. Why not just educate about it instead of making a counter? The fact that I make a point of it. I don't make such a huge point about it. I don't talk about it endlessly. It's not every live stream lecture. I know a lot more about history than just that. But the fact that people are going to ask me questions, it gives me an opportunity to educate them by discussing it because a lot of people don't even know about the 7 Years' War, even if you don't consider it World War One, or some people call it World War Zero. The truth is, ever happy dude, which you're not ever happy right now. But the truth of the matter is, people don't know about the history of this war, regardless of what they think. And then when I bring it up, that actually gives them a chance to think and ruminate. And history is about ideas. History is about all sorts of concepts. And there's an idea to think about. What if the First World War was 160 years before the original one, the one we think? What if the history books are wrong? I mean, people ask questions about history being written by the victors and history only telling one-sided narratives. Well, I'm saying if it can do that, then isn't it possible at the same time for us to have the wrong count of world wars? And what about this French Indian War? What about the 7 Years' War? You should learn about it if you haven't already, and there's a chance for you to do just that. And it's world history. I mean, you got Asia involved. Asia wasn't as involved, but you got India, you've got Africa, you've got South America, you have the Spanish and the Portuguese and their empires. There's so much there going on there. Um, Good to see you, Shuriken. Very, very kind of you. God, Gobble Klept is ostensibly the oldest religious site in the world so far as we know in Turkey. Well worth a look when you can. Turkey has some of the oldest places in the world, which is fascinating because Turkey didn't exist as Turkey until about 1000. The Seljuks, really the first. It was Asia Minor. It was one of the most important crossroads in all of world history. You cannot tell world history without the story of the great country of Turkey. But the idea of a modern nation state of Turkey didn't exist until recently, relatively compared to other nations. But then again, they called Europe Christendom at that time. Um, and it almost never happens in reverse. People move there a couple of years and then what? Come back? Yes, yes, I get it. People move. It's so funny when Americans move to Europe and stay there for a couple of years and then think Europe is better than America. Yes, because no one has ever moved from Europe to America, thought America was better, and stayed there the rest of their lives. That's never happened before. And there has totally, and yeah, and there was these huge egresses in American history where we sent people to Europe and they stayed there forever. Like, can you think of a time in history when there was a huge egress of people from Europe to come to the United States and live there for the rest of their lives, tacitly admitting at the very least that it was better? I can't think of the Irish doing that because the British oppressed and starved them to death by the millions. No, that wasn't them. Or the Greeks, or the Russians, or the Jews, or the Polish, or the Italians, or the Spanish, or Brits. I mean, the first people who ever came to the United States, what the United States part of it, the English, the Angloid sphere, were English people fleeing England because England sucked. There you go. There's a nice historical hot take for you. The cup. Have you ever been to Falador? No. Um, if she's not left, as I joking, I don't want to date your sister, as I bet she is left wing Joe Biden lover. So fake. What? You don't even know my politics. Why are you assuming my sister's politics? And just because I mentioned someone's hot sister a few weeks ago, now apparently all sisters are people are going to talk about. Why Bible is fabricated? I don't know how much of the Bible is fabricated. I don't know how much any religious book is fabricated. If you want me to discuss the transmission of the Bible from a spiritual or lens that's not historical, give a super chat. But basically, the Bible was written over thousands of years by many different authors. It's very different than other religious books in that regard. You know it's true. Palestine is 93 to 95% Muslim. But yeah, and England is 90 to 95% white. Or does that mean that all their problems are because of white people? Should white people leave England? Chinese people invented Chinese food, you guys. Actually, the chop suey was invented in San Francisco. Um, China and Russia, Middle East will overpower USA and fun facts, bro. Thank you, Chris, for reaffirming me as an American. Um, Foreigners always complain about America, yet stay in America. Then the Americans throw a tantrum on Twitter and move to Europe. And then, well, Europe's kind of going through their own thing with foreigners. That's a weird perspective, CX. Are you a liberal or a Republican? I don't share my political views. I don't. My moderators guess, and they're wrong, by the way, but they guess. There is no Sunni, no Shia, no radical. There is only Islam. Fair point. Are you Jewish? No. Are you a spy? You know a lot of Russian history. No, that's my emphasis. That's what I got my master's in. I've studied it extensively. I love Russian history. Um, what was the Bataan death match in the Philippines, march in the Philippines, and why did MacArthur get criticized for it? I don't know why MacArthur got criticized for it, but basically, a bunch of American soldiers were captured and marched to death by the Japanese in one of their cruelest actions in the war, which is saying something because they did some horrible things, like at Nanjing and Unit 731. Um, yeah. As that is historically inaccurate. Christianity historically killed the most people in history. Clearly, you can't ask this random dude historical questions because everyone has their own biases. That's not what I said. You did not listen to me. What I said, Rhea, is that I didn't even mention historical killing figures. I said that most of the victims of Islam are Muslim, radical Islam. I didn't say anything about Christianity, who's killed more people. You can hear the painter's speeches in English now. He was right. Squirrely, seriously. Hearing his speech is interesting. Him being right? Go away. I'm an alien. Why hasn't ugliness been naturally selected out? I don't know. I'm still here, so I guess it hasn't. There is a revolution going on in the U.S. ICE versus people. What do you think about it? I don't think it's a revolution. There's protesters and rioters who hate what President Trump is doing, and this has been the case for 10 years, and I'm kind of tired of talking about it. If you want me to go more in depth about the ICE situation, give a super chat. Napoleon history is a pack of lies written by men. He said it's a fable we convince ourselves of. I don't agree with him. Especially nowadays when there's just so much ability to get so many perspectives on so many different things. I don't agree. People do not argue about the history. They argue about the interpretation of history. Because you have maniacs like that, like ugly people, and ugly is a subjective thing. That's true. The world leaders only give us the pocket change of the stories. Could be Israel and llamas? Hamas? I don't know what's going to happen there. I'll give my full perspective on that if you give a super chat about the Israel-Hamas thing, but I'm just saying thank God this thing is over and people are not going to die anymore. For now. Your sister like Christmas turkey? Sure. Are you a spy? I already answered that. Steve's here. Good to see you. On his way to Asia, why do you think Columbus didn't sail to Iceland, Greenland, Vineland? He was sailing from Spain, so it would have been out of the way. Turkey. Very good. Turkey. There you go. Can you give me the best historical information you know to prove Jesus was real, not including Bible sites, please, and thank you. Tacitus, Josephus, Cassius Dio. Almost every historian in consensus agreed that there was a Jesus of Nazareth and that his followers believed he rose from the dead. When you've got people who are diametrically opposed to the religion talking about him, he was real. He's got not as much as Caesar, but more than other historical figures, certainly more than other religious historical figures that we also assume were real. And it's hard to prove existence of someone from 2,000 years ago. Um, I'll answer for the silly. Are you seriously, Raya? I'm not Jewish. I don't. What? How did the power struggle between the Soviet Union and the Western Allies over post-war Germany turn occupation into political takeover, and how did this clash ignite the core tensions of the Cold War? Germany was where they were both was a breeding ground for communist government that would shape the Eastern Bloc, and for capitalist, democratic, Western U.S. supporting government that would shape the West for the next 45 years. And it was also a place where supplying aid had strings attached, like the Berlin Airlift, where the Americans sent supplies over to Berlin after the war, not just for the humanitarian cause, but to keep them from becoming communists. So, anyways, gotta love the Scots. I do love the Scots. Fascinating stuff. People need to stop spreading lies about Islam. Like Muhammad was a pedo, was married to a 6-year-old girl, and took advantage of her when she was 9 years old. Are you being facetious? Because that's actually true. That's what happened. And the Muslims themselves admit that. Um, Now, to be fair, the Virgin Mary was like 13, so they weren't fleeing England because England sucked. Yeah, they were. They were fleeing England. Well, the Pilgrims fled England because England sucked and mistreated them. And I don't think England sucks, by the way, Caesarism, but my moderator, Harry, always thinks that anything the British do is right, or almost anything they do is pretty right, and needs to be contextualized if it's wrong, and anything the Americans do is wrong, especially if it conflicts with the British. And I'm simply, and he said, horrifyingly erroneously, that the Americans all go to Europe, which historically is just fallacious. So I had to answer him and be a bit smarmy about that. Yeah, I look like a lefty. Whatever. Is it real that the point of First and Second World War was to get rid of non-Roman Catholic Christians the way they killed so many people like Serbs? Not from my perspective. No, not subject needs to be selected out. Okay, I'm going to try to catch up to the chat. Not going to be able to answer all of your questions. Bale, it's good to see you. Totally Uber's here. Uncle Iro, great. Is it true that the Nazi Germany executed or punished soldiers who didn't meet physical requirements? Yes. They did punish them. I don't know about execution. That there is a runner that Israel and Iran war is likely to start again. What do you think? Possible. Maybe Israel, now it's done with Hamas, will try to overthrow the the Islamic Republic for us. And it's also good to see you. Tayyib, great to see you. Well, I am just going to tell my opinion. 3 Abrahamic religions are 80% the same, and all of them had some damage. Yep, fair point. Who do you agree with, David Smith or Douglas Murray? I haven't watched that in full. I tend the isolationist, the Israeli war thing. I tend to be pretty much in the middle at this point, and I try to be fair. I've done a video commenting on what Douglas Murray said. Was General MacArthur a benefit or liability in the United States military? He was a benefit. He was beneficial, but chaotic good, to say the least. Tanya, thank you for the gift membership. That'll help the channel. Sam's now a member. Great to see you, Sam. Yeah, Harry is a swell guy. I'm talking in American. Why does America steal names of places from other places? Is lazy or something? Yeah, because the Romans did that. People do that. Imitation is the best form of flattery. Let me see here. What about who's Henry? Why is Henry everyone's saying bye to Henry? I don't know what's happening. But anyways. All right, I'm caught up to the chat. JFK, who killed him? I think it might have been the CIA. No, I don't think Britain did everything right. I think Britain made massive mistakes. The Irish famine is a perfect example. So there you go. So because of that, millions of people come to the United States and stay there for the rest of their lives. So they clearly thought it was better than living under the British rule. I would just point out that Puritans didn't flee England because they were mistreated. They left England because they were religiously intolerant of everyone else. And the king was religiously intolerant of them. So anyways. All right, I've caught up to the chat. Please like and subscribe on your way out. Why did Japan invade China, way back when? They both invaded each other for multiple different reasons. Really, land and power. They're Irish, not European. Yeah, they are Europeans. Ireland is part of Europe. Just like the UK is part of Europe. Ireland is part of Europe. Left-leaning libertarian who is agnostic of whatever. Yeah. That's the no true Scotsman fallacy argument on steroids. I think your sister went back in time and ended him. Oh wow. No, it wasn't Candace Owens. Am I close? You can keep guessing here. I'm not going to tell you. What food native to the Americas had the biggest impact on the rest of the world? Potatoes. Potatoes being brought from South America to Ireland was obviously huge. Geographically, not by any measure. Culturally, socially, and historically, by every single measure, they are Europeans. And if you don't want to talk about them, I can talk about the Italians, the Greeks, the French, the Germans, the Swedes, and the English themselves, who went to America in large droves, far more than Americans did. This is the idea that the Europeans have, and left-leaning Americans, a lot of them have, that is just mythical. And I'm sorry, it's not tipping my political hand at all, because normally I think a lot of what you say makes sense, but it's not statistically true. It's when people say, "Oh, everyone's going to run away to Canada because Trump is president, and Trump's awful, and Trump's this and Trump's that." But even if he is, that's not what's happening. Twice as many Canadians come to the United States as Americans go to Canada. I'm sorry, but you're just so delusional in your hatred of a man that you will literally ignore stats, data, and all of history, which shows an overwhelming majority of people egressing from Europe to go to America, not the other way around. I'm sorry. It's overwhelming. It's not close. And even if Donald Trump even if he tripled the amount of people leaving the United States over the next 4 years and compounded that by 10, it still wouldn't be historically close. There. I'm sorry, but that narrative is nonsense. And yes, Aurelia, thank you for catching on. That is Confucius in the background. And yeah, people want to talk about Trump. Trump. I'm sick and tired of it. Even the people who support him are sick and tired of hearing about him. The man is not the end of the world. There are two types of people who deal with Donald Trump, and it's fascinating to me as a social scientist. One, and I'm doing this free of a super chat, so you guys can all say thank you. But basically, one, there's leftists and liberals who are obsessed with him, and their entire daily life revolves around how evil he is all the time. That's all they can think about is how bad he is. And then MAGA people who their life revolves around him. Both of the people have a cultic fanaticism about him. Every single thing. There was no need for Harry to bring up Donald Trump in the context of the Nobel Peace Prize. There is no need for him to bring up the USA thing, yet he does it anyways, because he has to talk about it, because the left is more obsessed with Donald Trump than Donald Trump's own supporters are. Then there's people in the middle, like me, who don't care. We know what he is. We analyze what he does. We think about it. I think about it with historical blinders on, which helps me actually contextualize it properly. But people are too obsessed with a man, an orange man with a terrible tan, bad hair, brutish behavior, terrible manners, and all the other crap that he brings to the table. I'm sick and tired of it. And I hear it on this channel all the time. Somebody comes in and all they want to talk about is MAGA. I'm sorry, I'm a historian. I am not a maggot historian. So there you go. We are 23 miles from France. For God's sakes, it's bloody awful. See, that's just... If I lived 23 miles from France, I couldn't get away enough because I love France. So there you go. Lincoln was a cuck. Oh, jeez. Just to point out, most American college students probably operate at the level of most European first-year primary students. Yeah, probably. I don't care, Harry. I really don't care anymore. It's like I am very able to talk about America's faults and failures all the time. You're not able to do that with Great Britain. A secretly registered independent. Jeez, I don't care. I'm so sick of all of this. I'm so sick of the way people get about politics. And I think that what happens is the mania about Donald Trump from his supporters, positive mania about a public icon, a band, a Taylor Swift, the Swifties, for instance. Positive mania is a little off-putting to people, but it's understandable. Negative mania, where people form their entire belief system, their entire way of looking at the world because of a hatred of one individual, just being haters all the time. The haters are going to hate, as Taylor said. The truth of the matter is, that is even more disturbing, I think, to people, normal people, than mania so Trump derangement syndrome is more laughable than the maggots worshiping him all the time. So, there. And yes, I called them maggots. Sue me. I love that song, by the way, Chemistry. It's funny how Donichi, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, she just ripped it off completely. Libertarian thing you can ever do. I think Friendly Historian crashes out more and more as time goes by. Yes, I have an extremely busy and difficult life right now. I'm trying to get back on my feet and do something that brings me joy, like doing this. And I want to talk about history. I'm looking forward to it. And then all of a sudden, it's Trump. Israel, Palestine, Jews. Trump. Here's an idea. Does anybody ever just talk about friggin' King Henry VIII anymore? What do you think of me being a Reaganite? Do your thing. I don't care anymore. Be whatever you want to be. God, at this point, just be whatever gender, race thing what you ever want to be. I'm done. Can we just talk about some dang history? I don't know if there's huge historical evidence. There definitely is some theory and some evidence to point out that the Americans did know something was going to happen on September 11th. September 11th historically has been a horrible day for the Muslims. That's when they lost not Lepanto, but wasn't Lepanto. It was one of their worst defeats. I think it was at Vienna in 1586. Did Paul McCartney die in 1968? I've heard that rumor. Probably not. The left are like English people, arrogant people. Oh, whatever. What do you think of the Empress Theodora? I'm not talking about politics anymore. One of the most powerful women who used not only her beauty but her charm and her intelligence to make Justinian extremely successful. She is the quintessential behind every good man is an even greater woman. On what side was Finland during World War II? World War III, I consider there to be three world wars, but Canucks, that's a great question. I'm assuming you might be Finnish. Secretly on fighting against the Soviets, put them kind of on the Axis side, but not much more that I could say than that. I I think them defeating the Soviets in the Winter War is one of the most underrated and impressive things of that war. What are your thoughts on Britain's current suppression of what we would call free speech? I'm a free speech absolutist, so you can get my opinion that way. I'm not going to give more perspective unless you want a super chat. But I basically believe anyone should be allowed to say anything they want, even if it's stupid, even if it's insulting, even if it's racist or hateful, and not be punished, unless they are inciting violence or creating dangerous situations. You can yell fire in a crowded theater if it's on fire. Just clarifying. It's like the thing where I don't want to touch somebody's body when, I need to give them CPR. Well, they're going to die otherwise, and there won't be a body anymore. Why did nobody think about mud wrestling? I mean, that's a perfect conditions. Because there were no women fighting, and men only think about mud wrestling when it comes to women, Harry. What are some civil work facts, USA, most people? Civil work? I don't know what you mean by that. Government facts? Other than the fact that corruption is rampant and has been for a long time in America, for the patronage system, the spoil system, Andrew Jackson. War 3, are you stupid? Yes, I'm stupid. Would you rather participate in bear baiting or fox tossing? How about bear tossing and fox baiting? Was a pretty good king, whipped France in 2 wars, revolutionized healthcare, separated England from the Catholic Church. Yes, yes, yes. Henry VIII is a great king. Henry VIII is not a bad king, but Henry VIII is not a good person. What is the most annoying thing to discuss? Wilson, Trump, or Israel? Oh, I don't know. How about will Trump Israel? English people are arrogant. Americans are pretty arrogant too. About a month or two ago, you briefly talked about John Adams and his obstinacy, refusal to work with detractors. Was he overall a good president, though? No. I think he's a great founding father. I think he was one of the smartest men who ever lived, especially in that time period, but he's not one of the better presidents. His obstinacy kept his successes like the American Navy being created from shining, which is why you got XYZ and the Alien Sedition Acts, which was a huge slam against free speech and freedom of press, which he supposedly believed in. Would you let your guy friends call you Zaddy? What's a Zaddy? Bear baiting is something I do on a weekly basis. Okay. Do you think France's early adoption of mortars was why they were so successful in warfare? Yeah, sure. France successful in warfare. Dress up as Trump for next year's Halloween? Oh my gosh. You'd have to hear my Trump impression, which is terrible. I could dress up as Tucker Carlson and do my Tucker Carlson impression for you, Harsh. We all know how much you love my Tucker Carlson impression. But you don't, because it's a lie. And everyone knows it's a lie. It's obvious to everyone around you. Everyone sitting next to you knows it's a lie. So why do they keep telling you it? There's Tucker Carlson. I'm sorry. Was President Zachary Taylor assassinated due to his vote against making the new states slave states? I heard there was a rumor about that, but no. They've been pretty definitive on the health that he died of cholera, which was common. William Henry Harrison had just died of cholera. What was Martin Luther's justification for removing 7 books from the Bible? He was angry. I get chills down my time every time you do a Tucker Carlson impression. Good. Do a Ben Shapiro impression? Well, this is literally the worst live stream that I've ever had. In all of the live streams I've ever done, this one is the worst. And I'll tell you why it's the worst. It's the worst one because no one is listening to me or paying attention to what I think. You just have to talk twice as fast as I do, and I already talk fast. Could you tell me the story of Abraham Petrov? I don't know about him, so I can't do that. What do you think on the invention of a cheeseburger in 1925? I didn't know it was invented then. I didn't know it was that soon. But anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. We went 40 minutes, a lot longer than I thought I would. Do a Joe Biden impression. Oh, he's actually hard to impersonate. I've tried to, but I can't. My Trump impression is better. Maybe I'll save that for you guys. If you guys get me over $100 in super chats, I'll do a Biden and Trump impression. Do you think I'm an 1880s Victorian and noble when it comes to my views on empire? Yes, you are. You are, Harry. We all know your views. You are a nationalist in that you love your British country, as you should. There's a lot of great things about Britain, but you're also a socialist because you have strong left-wing convictions politically. So you're a national socialist, and that's all there is to it. Thank you, nobody. Your voice is so relaxing, helps me drop. Oh. Okay, I didn't know you were doing that, nobody, but enjoy yourself. What do you think would happen if we went back in time and showed a country a modern gun, or years before guns? I'd be fascinated to show the Chinese exactly what gunpowder would be used for. I don't know. They would want it. That's what the natives and the Africans wanted during triangle trade during the colonization of the Americas. Um, so, um, never knew friendly history could piss me off. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Um, yes, I hate it when you do that, and I hate it when you like selectively criticize everything America does, selectively criticize the British, and then talk about how everybody would prefer to be British. You're basically singing that song from Disney about everybody wanting to be a cat, but about the British, and it's just not true. And I don't think everyone wants to be an American, but I think a lot more people through history have wanted to be American than have wanted to be British. Was Disraeli the best politician for the working class? He was pretty understanding of their plight, but I think he was actually better for the upper class and the nobility. He saved the monarchy by bringing Victoria out of her depression. He's a fascinating man. You missed a spicy. It wasn't spicy first. I was exhausted. Thank God for all of you guys perking me up, but everybody just decided to get on their high horse about politics again, and I'm absolutely sick of Trump derangement syndrome and Trump worship syndrome finding their way into my channel when I'm trying to talk about some dang history. I'm going Alex Jones crash out levels at this point. I don't like Trump turning my freaking live stream political. Yeah, if you've ever heard Alex Jones talk about frogs, it's disturbing. Anyways, the Great Game. I talk about it. I've talked about it a lot. My master's thesis is about it. So go on my Substack, subscribe to my Substack. You could read my master's thesis where I talk exclusively about the Great Game. Thoughts on Candace Owens? That's what I think. She's nuts. Although she's smart, she's devoted, she's like a pit bull, but yeah. Okay. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, for another Q&A, and hopefully I can go a full hour then, and then maybe we'll do 2 hours tomorrow, depending on how I'm feeling. And then Monday we got the live stream lecture about Christopher Columbus. Hope your life calms back down. Have a good afternoon. Same to you. I hope everybody has a great evening. Enjoy your Saturdays and Sundays, and I'll see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern, for another hour, at least, of Friendly Neighborhood History with Q&A. Make sure to like the live on your way out and subscribe for more. There's plenty to watch on the channel, and anything you give to the channel, if you become a member, goes towards helping this channel get better at everything that we do. Take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday, and remember, as always, love history.